This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Mutual Broadcast Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, and IPBN Radio Network. If you'd like to send an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our main website, well, when it comes to the radio, that is, www.xzoneradio.com. My guest this hour is Professor Antonio Paris. He is a professor of astronomy at St. Petersburg College in Florida. Additionally, he is an astronaut candidate for Project Possums, a suborbital mission supported by NASA's Flight Opportunities Program, the director of the Planetarium and Space Program at the Museum of Science and Industry, and the chief scientist at the Center for Planetary Science, a source outreach program promoting astronomy, planetary science, and astrophysics to the next generation of space explorers. Professor Paris, moreover, is a 2015 graduate of NASA's Mars Education Program at the Mars Space Flight Center in Arizona at the Arizona State University. Joining me now is Professor Paris. And Professor, how are you tonight, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. Can you hear me well over there?
I can hear you. It sounds like you're not that far away.
Perfect.
So tell me, what is new with you, and what is new in the world of spaceflight, in the world of NASA, in the world of space exploration?
Oh, well, for NASA is basically centered on, for the next few years, in planetary exploration. We're looking at Mars, Pluto, and even a mission to Venus. So it looks pretty exciting for the next 15, 20 years. So lots for us, for the astronomy community, to keep us busy.
Professor, what is the draw of Mars? I understand the president of SpaceX says that he can have a mission to Mars completed in the next couple of years.
I think the draw to Mars is our human instinct to continue exploration. 500, 600 years ago, Christopher Columbus and the explorers from those days, moved forward. They crossed the immense oceans against all odds, and we're here today because of that, I guess. Eventually, I think we basically reached out to everywhere we can geographically on this planet, and that instinct and urge to continue to explore is making us move outside the planet. We can't go to Venus because Venus and Mercury are hostile environments. Mars, not so much. It's not as friendly as Earth.
Right.
but we can still go there. If we have submarines and spaceships in orbit, spacecraft in orbit, I think a self-sustained mission to Mars is not that difficult. The hardest part of going to Mars is the expense. It's very expensive to go to Mars.
Would you say that with today's technology, a trip to Mars would be a one-way trip for the occupants of that craft?
I don't think so. I think we have the necessary engineers, the technology, the brains to make a spacecraft visit Mars, hang out for about a year and a half until we're back in alignment, and return back. And we have the technology to extrapolate lots of the resources that we have that are already on the Martian surface, including a little bit of oxygen, hydrogen, and perhaps even water. All the things that we need. So if we plan it carefully, and if we send, for the first few years, the food and water and all the equipment required prior to getting there, it's basically one long camping trip. We'll send the crew over there, and they can come back.
All right, Professor, please stand by. Exxon Nation, our guest this hour is Professor Antonio Paris. His website is www.planetary-science.org or aerial-phenomenon.
This is the Exxon Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Exonation, Professor Antonio Paris is our special guest, and looking at the accomplishments that have been carried out by scientists like yourself, Professor, and the engineers, and the mind grouping that goes on within the scientific community, the planetary committee, the community, as well as the exploration community. It's just so vast, and yet there are those who actually want to say that, you know what, it wasn't the humans that came up with this engineering. It's all from the UFOs and the spacecraft that we've reversed engineered. As a member of the scientific community, what is it? Was there extraterrestrial engineering that has been implemented into present-day spaceflight, or is this just a bunch of bunk?
Well, my answer would be that I don't know. I have my personal opinion is I don't have any proof whatsoever to suggest that any of the technology that we have out there is derived from extraterrestrial civilization intelligence. What I can say is that we do have a lot of smart people. I agree. We have people that can create really cool technology, everything from the iPhone to these self-driving cars today. But who knows? There's a lot of great conspiracies, but unfortunately, those conspiracies, I like to call a wilderness of mirrors. No matter where you look, the rabbit hole gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And I just don't see any. I would like to, you know, take everyone's imaginations and put them all together and to suggest, hey, this possibly could have been technology recovered from either extraterrestrial craft or conspiracies among governments and extraterrestrial life. But that's something that we can all fantasize about. It's a lot of claptrap that really leads to nowhere. We really don't have that proof. We have a lot of great stories. We have a lot of deathbed confessions.
Right.
We have a lot of alleged witnesses, and what I like to call anecdotal information, not anecdotal evidence, like some suggest. So it's just going to continue to be lots of great stories, and until my personal, I guess, what's a good word I'm looking for? Not opinion, but when I actually see a spacecraft or evidence thereof at the Smithsonian or some museum, then we can finally have the answer. But right now, it's just a lot of great stories.
You, sir, are a former U.S. Army intelligence officer, infantry officer, paratrooper. You were awarded the Bronze Star Medal for Valor in Iraq. You're also the author of 2 books, Aerial Phenomena and Space Science. You're a certified PADI scuba diver and dive master. And you're a professional member of the Washington Academy of Sciences and the American Astronomical Society. So ask, let me ask you this question, and no disrespect meant whatsoever. Why is a scientist like you, with all your credentials, studying UFOs, and doesn't the study of UFOs as a very well and highly respected scientist like yourself derail your reputation as a scientist?
No, it does not. If you look at my entire background, there are a lot of chapters in my life story, and that is a result of my dad inspiring me to do as many great things as possible in my life. My father basically spent his whole life farming, and then his later life teaching, and that was great for him. But he told me, you only live once and you need to do as many things as you can. So I joined the service. I was server of combat tours, became a scientist, was in the intelligence community for almost 10 years. So that's what I wanted to do. Lots of chapters, lots of great adventures in my life, which all culminated to what I like to do now, which is astronomy. If you look at all my careers, Army, college, intelligence community, I still always wanted to be involved in space science, and that's where that led to today. But when I look at the UFO phenomena, I don't look at it from some crazy crackpot perspective. I look at how the phenomena has evolved. I look at it from a scientific perspective. And for the most part, most of the scientists and astronomers that I work with understand how I approach this phenomena. And believe it or not, most scientists are closet UFO lovers. I'm sorry to say that, but I know so many reputable, respectable scientists that look at this phenomena from the comfort of their own privacy. And but from my perspective, I don't really care, because I'm looking at this phenomena from a nut and bolts perspective. If there are 1,000 cases out there, I only look at 1 or 2 that appear to be highly credible.
All right, Professor.
That's it. And the people that I surround myself with, including in the aerial phenomena team, are highly respected.
All right, so let me ask you this,
engineers
sir.
And scientists as well.
All right, let me ask you this then. How do you do things differently as a trained scientist, as well as the other members of your team who are professionals? How do you do it differently than from, let's say, another UFO group?
The key, or the first thing that we do is that we don't entertain and we venture off the usual suspect. We stay away from these crazy conventions. We don't we stay away from all these groups that have only one thing in common, and that is to spread the conspiracies. And we focus our attention more with groups that are highly reputable, like skeptical organizations, scientific organizations that like New Fork, for example, National UFO Reporting Center, which is highly regarded, one of the oldest as well, UFO investigative organizations. And more importantly, we follow a very strict protocol, an investigative process that has been derived and shaped from FBI investigations manuals, police investigation manuals, weather phenomena investigations, and we spent 4 or 5 years refining that process, and that's basically what we've been doing and spreading the word as well. So I go to local UFO meetings. We tell them what we do. And I think what helped us out was my first book, Aerial Phenomena. If you read it, it's basically an investigative manual that identifies our processes involved and using the scientific method, the actual scientific method of investigating any type of phenomena.
You recently published a paper suggesting comets were actually responsible for the wow signal. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, be careful with that. I said that it's a possibility, that it's a hypothesis. And
I beg to differ, sir. I beg to differ on the information you sent us.
in 1977, the wow signal was detected, and at that time, radio astronomy was basically in its infancy stage. We didn't know about these are two-edged comets that were in the area. We didn't really understand the hydrogen phenomena that was coming out of the center of the galaxy. And I think most radio astronomers today, after 30, 40, 50 years of this unresolved mystery, are basically honing in that this is most likely a natural phenomena. When you look at the actual location of the signal, it's dead smack in the constellation Sagittarius, which is pointing towards where there's a lot of hydrogen. But when I did a little research and did some further investigative analysis, I also learned that at that area, in those areas, there were two comets, and those comets potentially could have been the source of the hydrogen. So, which is why I call them candidates. So, and for me to prove this hypothesis, I'd have to look at the comets when they come back around in 2017.
All right. So, when you said in the information you sent us on January the 26th that number 7 was you recently published a paper suggesting comets were responsible for the wow signal. That is an error?
It's probably a little lucrative error that I made,
Okay.
But if you actually read the entire paper, it is the conclusion that we added is that the two comets are potentially the source of the wow signal, and that we need to test the hypothesis before we can definitively say that we're the comets.
As a ufologist, as a scientist, as an astronomer, as a former member of the intelligence community, what is your take on the Phoenix Lights?
Phoenix Lights is rather interesting. There's basically, from what I understand, two really separate, widely reported events. One was the so-called events downtown that were allegedly flares, according to the Air Force investigative findings. And then something that I don't think were flares, because people in the dozens reported seeing what appeared to be a boomerang, a large boomerang the size of a football field that was, I think, northeast of Phoenix. That looked nothing like flares. So I'm more interested in the actual boomerang than the alleged flares. And I don't know what that was. It could have been extraterrestrial. It could have been something man-made. We have a lot of military bases in the four, what do they call it? The four areas. So we don't know what it was. What's interesting about this case is that we do have a lot of witnesses,
right?
And they all basically corroborated the same story of what they saw. So that makes it for an interesting case.
Once again, as an astronomer and a scientist, why are we going back to the moon?
I think going back to the moon is basically because the natural resources there that we can exploit for all intents and purposes. The helium-3 that's on the lunar surface
Yeah.
is a great.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
X-Zone, don't forget, after the X-Zone, Monday through Friday, my friend Jeremy Scott takes you on an adventure in his show, Dark 30. That's right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. And then Saturday and Sunday on the Mutual Broadcast Center, the one and only Wilda Wiaka and her show, The Science of Magic. For more information about the Mutual Broadcast Network and its great programming, visit their website, www.mutualbroadcast.com. My guest this hour is Professor Antonio Paris, and always great having you with us, Professor.
Great.
Oh,
How
there
are
you
you
are.
guys
Okay.
doing?
We're doing great. You know, it's a Friday. It's a Friday night. The summer is here. Go outside, look at the stars, and I often wonder if I'm looking out into the stars, is somebody looking back at me?
That is a possibility, and that's a great question. Someone actually asked me a similar question a couple days ago, that we are looking for extrasolar planets out there, but we are actually a biased species. You know, we're looking for Earth-like planets that are similar to ours.
Right.
So the question begs, if there's an extraterrestrial civilization out there that's completely different from us. Let's say they breathe cyanide and their gravity is 100 times bigger.
Right.
And I'm just, throwing crazy figures out there. What would they do if they actually discovered Earth? My response would be, they would probably look at our planet and say it's inhospitable and continue looking forward for something different.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's really out there. My personal opinion is there has to be,
Sure.
there has to be life out there. We just don't know what type of life.
I've had Seth Shostak on the show many times.
Oh, yeah.
And Seth's a great guy. He's got a great sense of humor. And the next time you're talking to him, ask him about his electric banana. That's all I'm going to say. But, I've asked Seth on many occasions, how do you know that the people that you're looking for actually have the capability, or their technology has surpassed what our equipment can find?
Yeah, you have to look at it again from a human anthropomorphic bias. Humans are, as far as we know, the only species that invented everything from that apple pie that we bake every week, the iPhone, and radio communications. Is based off everything we know regarding human math and our 10 fingers.
Listen, Professor,
So there could be life out there that could have paralleled everything we have done, or they are way far advanced than us.
Yeah. You've been to the Skinwalker Ranch and Area 51. Can you please describe to our listeners what Skinwalker Ranch is and what Area 51 is? And then, can you give us your comment, your opinions on those two locations?
Yeah, so I love investigating great folklore, and Skinwalker Ranch is a location out in Utah, and in this case, it's just off the Ute Reservation. And there's been for at least, I think my research showed, at least to the late 60s, a smorgasbord of strange phenomena. Everything from UFOs alien abductions, witches, black triangles, werewolves, Bigfoot.
Wow.
You can name it, and it was there. Even the chupacabra. And so we went out to investigate this phenomena at the ranch, and we saw a couple of strange orbs and some shadows. But it was a rather interesting place to look at. The whole theory is, according to local experts, is that all of this that I just mentioned
Mm-hmm.
comes from one specific entity. And John Alexander out of Las Vegas calls this the sentient phenomena, also known as the trickster, that it can transform itself to whatever it wants based on what you want it to be. So if there's a person out there looking for a werewolf,
Bang.
it will manifest itself as a werewolf. If you're looking for UFOs, it'll
Bang.
manifest itself to UFOs.
As
And
a
this-
sci-
and
as-
the local legend is that all this is from the Ute tribes, the old reservation that's there, and basically they think that's what it is. It's spirits from the ancient Native Americans that are manifesting itself to whatever you want it to be.
All right, but as a scientist, a trained scientist, a decorated member of the military, a 10-year veteran of the intelligence community, as an astronomer, astronaut candidate, like, I'm not talking to Mickey Mouse here. I'm talking to somebody that I respect. When you look at all this stuff, what's your take on it?
My specific trip was only looking at what the one of the largest phenomena there highly reported were these orange orbs. And the local scientists thought that this was ball lightning or atmospheric phenomena. And that's why I went down there. You know, I went down there with truckloads of scientific equipment to try to study this this light phenomena. And the other was just, you know, it's just giggles for me. You know, I wasn't looking for werewolves. I wasn't looking for aliens. It was basically to study this atmospheric phenomena. And we detected one orb, which we weren't able to explain, but we did everything: radiation detection, light detection, all types of all the scientific process involved to study this phenomena. And the other stuff, the other legends that were there, that was more there for entertainment.
Alien abductions. The two that come to mind whenever you ask anybody about alien abductions: Betty and Barney Hill, and then Travis Walton.
Yeah.
What's your opinion, sir?
Well, Travis Walton is actually a good friend of mine, and I actually met him about 4 or 5 times already. And he understands my opinion of him, that I think something did happen to him.
Right.
And unfortunately, he knows that he really has no proof. My personal opinion is that I have to stay away from alien abductions because the few that we have investigated, and that's just a few that I investigated, that we had to be careful because these people were suffering from some type of traumatic experience. Whether it was aliens or not, when they report to me that they were kidnapped,
Right.
that they were raped, that they were taken from their own free will, that to me disqualifies me from investigating it because I'm not a medically trained doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. And the few colleagues that I do have that do this kind of stuff, I tell them, be careful. You're treading on dangerous waters.
Yeah, because Travis Walton was examined by 3 psychiatrists, and the lead psychiatrist, Dr. Rosenbaum, said that, and I'm just paraphrasing here, that Travis Walton believes that this happened, even though it didn't happen, and he pointed to a psychosis.
Yeah, exactly. And in the times that I sat down with Travis Walton, he told me these. I'm sitting and listening to him. I'm saying, I believe he's telling the truth. Something happened to him.
Yeah.
Could it be aliens? It could be aliens. It could have been a military experiment, or it could have him, smoking some serious stuff. I don't know. But he had an experience. I'm not going to take away from him. I've never set out to debunk him. And the same thing with other people that have been allegedly abducted. Something happened to them, and they've gone through several credible, I guess, and dedicated psychologists and doctors and psychiatrists, and they all believe that something did happen to them. But I tell my team, listen, this is not something that we should be qualified to do. And the last time we did this, we had to call the police department because the alleged abductee was trying to commit suicide, and we were like, okay, we have to stop there. We have to call the authorities. This guy needs some serious medical attention, and that's what we did. And from this point forward, I told my team, listen, if we get an abduction case, we'll take the information and we'll contact local people that we know that deal with these kinds of issues.
I understand what you're saying 100% because going back, this must have been the year 2000. I was at News Talk 610 CKTB where we did the show from. My producer at the time was Martin Sherrod. And Martin, we used to have a messaging system on the computers between the master control and the studio while we were on air. While we were off air, we'd chat. He said, you better take this caller, sounds important. So I took this person as the next caller, and they were basically telling us that they were considering committing suicide because they believed that they had been implanted by alien implants. Nobody would believe them. So while I was talking to the person on the phone, Martin got a hold of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in BC because this listener was in BC, and they went to the house and they were actually able to intercept the call. And
we had a similar situation.
Yeah, exactly.
From the hotel room.
Yeah.
And the guy was screaming aliens, was in his room, that he was going to shoot everyone, then shoot himself. And I was like, okay, stop this. We called the police department, and they were thankful. I don't know what happened to the guy. I'm hoping that, that he's okay. But we could have just had a string of bad luck. Out of the dozens of cases that we looked at, abductions, a lot, I would say over half of them, these people were not stable and required some type of psychiatric attention. So again, I'm with you on that one too. We have to be careful, and we cannot lead these guys into pseudo things like hypnosis and all those things that are pseudoscience according to the mainstream scientific community.
As a scientist yourself, how do you look upon hypnosis? You called it a pseudoscience. Do you think that is the term that's used by mainstream science? It's pseudoscience because it's not really allowed to be used in a lot of situations, including the court of law, science. Sure. But when you've got these people who claim to be trained hypnotists who are dealing, in my opinion, with fire, because if the person believes and they open up, they can actually cause more harm than good. Now, this is just my own personal belief. Why are they allowed to practice this?
Well, first of all, you have to remember that most of the hypnosis regarding these subjects are usually voluntarily. And and if you go to any of these, and this is why we stay away from these conferences, a lot of this is they kind of force people to do these kind of things. They have these like hypnosis special groups and these abduction only forums, and I'm sorry to say this, but they bring a lot of these people because it brings people through the doors. But it's a very dangerous thing, and any legitimate doctor or psychiatrist will tell you that hypnosis just does not work. It basically brings false memories. And it brings false belief spectrum. So we have to be really careful with that stuff.
And it seems that the UFO community has their own UFO hypnosis specialists that they use who, number one, they believe in UFOs. Therefore, they could actually lead the session to whatever conclusion they want.
When your own interrogator leads the witness, that becomes basically, it basically skews the actual evidence. And they're really, I don't know, maybe you can answer this for me. Is there an actual clinical legality or license regarding hypnosis? I mean, is this something you get a PhD in, or is this again like a pseudo claptrap?
Well, first of all, my opinion of the PhDs today, that if you don't go to a recognized university, if you do not do your dissertation, if it doesn't take you 4 to 8 years to get your PhD, well, you can go online, spend $250 from an organization, they'll give you a PhD. Though the internet PhDs, in my opinion, are piled higher and deeper. Whereas I believe that the internet has taken a lot of credibility away from people who have spent years learning, proving themselves, learning, mentoring, and that these people who just take these online courses, I'm sorry, I don't give them any credibility whatsoever.
Yeah, I did it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
I had to go to school. I had to write a thesis, and my thesis doctor had I went through 3 different arguments to get that approved. It's a little different now. There is you can go through 2 or 3 years and get a degree, which is okay as long as it's from a reputable school and you still do your internships and things like that. But you can go on any given website now and get your PhD, and you can get like PhDs now in ufology from non-accredited schools, obviously.
That's where the PhD stands for piled higher and deeper. It's just like going on the internet and getting a reverend in front of your name. I did this one day on the show, and all my 3 dogs now have reverends in front of their name. Like, come on. You get these people who come on when we're talking about ghosts and they're reverend this, bishop that. Yeah. First question I ask is, what seminary did you go to? Well, I didn't go to one. I went to such and such. I belong to such and such a church. I'm sorry. So what do? We check them out on the internet.
Yeah, I think if you want to be regarded as at least credible, is you have to get the education out of the way, and then more importantly, in my business, you have to publish. You have to publish from blind peer review, do the hard work, submit it. And I've done publications where they were rejected, and I had to go back to the drawing board.
Sure.
But public peer review publications is what shapes your credibility, and that's what I've been doing for the last close to 8 years now.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Welcome back, everyone. Our guest this hour, Professor Antonio Paris. Here's a couple of websites, planetary-science.org and aerialphenomenon.org. First of all, Professor, always great talking to you. It's great having you back on the show. But I have to ask you something. What are your feelings, and what do you think is the present status of the UFO culture?
I think the UFO culture is seriously in dire needs. If I look at a lot of these websites that I was looking at
Hmm.
just a few minutes ago, they're all begging for money. The last conference I went to about 3 years ago, I swore to myself it would be the last one because it was nothing but a major circus. People running around with green face paint, I'm abducted T-shirts, selling whatever garbage that they can.
Hmm.
Really took away from the old school UFO conferences I used to love, where there was really top heavy skeptics and scientists and even witnesses that would go up on stage and give really good testimony, great debates. And today it's nothing but a big circus. Go to any UFO conference today, and it's nothing about selling as much memorabilia as they can,
Hmm.
abductee, sessions and cocktail parties. So it's really they made a mockery of themselves, and this is why the UFO community is not really taken seriously anymore by many scientists.
Well, do you ever think the scientific community will ever take the UFO committees seriously?
It is, in fact, I am in the works of about 2 years ago.
Hmm.
Yeah, 2 years ago, I had my first UFO conference in Baltimore, where we had serious scientists come,
Yeah.
and we had a good turnout. About 200 people came. And I'm actually now contemplating on having a serious UFO discussion here in Tampa Bay, where I'm going to invite credible scientists and maybe an astronaut or two, and a couple of credible witnesses, and do a debate style panel, and stay away from all the other unnecessary circus. And maybe that can at least be a starting point for bringing back seriousness to the UFO community.
You know, there are some UFO organizers, group organizers,
Hmm.
who I think really understand that what they have here is they have a way to make money, and that they're going to take as much as they can from whoever they can. You know, they charge exorbitant prices to
Yeah.
get into the place. Then they charge for lectures. Then they charge for workshops. Come on, aren't we there to spread the
Yeah, and
news,
even like
spread the information?
private dinners with
Yeah.
Travis Walton and things like that. That's normal business operation. But you're right, they are taking advantage of people. I'm not calling them stupid. I'm not calling
No.
them weak-minded, but they are taking advantage of a particular group of people who want to understand this
Yep.
phenomena, and and they're just taking advantage of them.
As always, my friend, time goes by so fast. I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll have you back on in the future. I promise you that. And
Anytime, man, just give me a call.
all right, listen, take care of yourself, safe travels, and if anything important comes up that you need to spread the word, get a hold of me. We'll get you on the air as fast as we can.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Take care, Professor. Exonation, my guest this hour has been Professor Antonio Paris. Here's a couple of websites, planetary-space.org and aerial-phenomenon.org. I'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here.